Welcome to this week's video on overworked admin. This is part 2 of our 14-part Teaching Yourself PowerShell series. Thank you for everybody that joined us last week. This week we're going to be talking about a little bit of what scripting is and how scripting is different than, let's say, a traditional web application or desktop application. Specifically, scripts are things that people generally write to automate work tasks, things like that. So when you head over to the website, Overworked Admin, and you check out Lesson 2, you're going to see a more in-depth breakdown of what the difference is between an application and a script. But I wanted to cover some of these points with you, just in case you don't have time to read it right now. You'll start to get an overview of how scripting is different than a traditional application. So let's talk about scripts and what are they. Traditionally, a script is an automated way, in my assessment, for administrators or users to interact with the system shell. So what is a system shell? Well, in Windows, it could be kernel 32, and in Linux, it's just called kernel. So what a script is it's generally a command line function where you can gather system properties. So for example, if I want to get information about the system, like all the processes, I can do get process, and then I can execute that. And as you can see back here, we've got things that are very specifically system related. So they're not necessarily things that would be, I would say, of interest to the average user. They would be much more specific to administrators and interacting with the systems themselves. So how is this different with an application? Well, there are many applications that interface with systems as well, but generally scripts are things that you could write in a simple text editor like we have here. We covered, in our last video, we've got the PowerShell ISE, and they're very easy to write. I could write these same scripts in Notepad. They're also not compiled, right? And this could be a very, very important difference between scripts. The operating system itself has an interpreter to execute these, simple commands. So like get process or get service. If I could spell, you can tell I'm an IT guy because I can't spell. Get service. These things tell us what we have available on the system, and we need this information to administer the system properly. So as you're going through and you are starting to, let's say, develop scripts. Let's say you are a security conscious admin, and you want to make sure, let's say on Windows, the remote registry service isn't running. Now this is a really simple example, but as your scripts grow in complexity, you'll need to think about something called pseudo code. So pseudo code could be a concept applied to a program, or it could be a concept applied to a script. And so let's say we wanted to make sure that the remote registry service was not running on our system. Well, first we need to get all the services, right? And we saw the get service command. Then we want to say, well, we're only really interested in the service where, and don't worry about this yet, we're going to get into all of what this code means, but we're only interested in the systems where the name is equal to remote registry. So let's say I'm interested in getting a script where the name equals remote registry. So as you can see here, we have this service, and it is only, we're filtering on this where clause where the name equals remote registry. So now that we have this service, we can take some action. So step 1, get service. Step 2, filter the service. Then we could write a simple if statement. If this service's state was stopped, we do nothing. Else, we would start. Things like that. That is pseudocode. And you're kind of writing things down and you're explaining things in plain English before you ever start doing any coding or writing out any script. So as you could hear, I just said if this, then that. So what are we doing? We're using operators to compare two things. And there's really two types of operators. There's comparison operators and there's logical operators. So in a logical operator, you can see down here we have status, right? And status is stopped. Now, a purist will tell you that stopped or started could be broken down into a 1 or a 0, and this is very true. So, but in our specific case, we are interested in stopped or start or any other word. And so we could say if, stop is equal to stop, what we want to do is we could want to write stop to the command line or to the script interface. So what we can do is, you see, we've got the service, it is stopped, and we wrote stop to the command line. If it were starting, we'll do write host start. So this is how we can use logical operators, and we could evaluate based on conditions. Now, we also have something that's called a comparison operator, and I'm just going to get rid of all this here. A comparison operator would be something that you could think about would be more mathematical in nature. So we would say if 1 equals 1, what we're going to do that same, right, host equals. And then we can say if it's not, what write host. And all write host is, we'll do any for not equals. All write host is just, it means it's going to write it to the line. So as you can see here, we have our code, and 1 does equal 1, so equals was printed out here. We can say, what if 1 equals 2? Well, 1 does not equal 2, so we printed out an e there for not equals. So this is a real simple high-level overview, and if this is a little fuzzy to you, comparison operators and logical operators, then definitely go to the website and read over the article. We also have some homework questions there, and then the answer to the homework questions to make all of these things a little bit more clear for you. So again, the big thing is that conditional operators, logical operators, and we want to understand pseudocode, so knowing what we want to write in our script before we actually write it. And basically we want to understand that writing a script is different than writing an application. A script is generally a way to interface with the operating system's kernel or command shell, or however you would like to say it. There is a difference. Anyway, I hope this short video has been informational for you. Go over to the website, overworkedadmin.com. Check out the blog article that'll give you more detail. Check out homework number 2, and the answers to homework number 2 are there as well. Please do subscribe to our channel, and if you appreciate the content, check out the ads in the video. It's how we sponsor them. And thanks again for watching overworkedadmin.com.